been a little bit since we've last heard from the Plaths, but it's time for season 6, and I am unbelievably excited. Some things that we know have happened since the end of season 5 is Mariah's continuing to release music and perform shows. Lydia is moving to Tallahassee. Olivia and Ethan's marriage is officially legally over, with Olivia living in LA and dating. Ethan is living in Minnesota. Micah is living in Southern Florida with his new girlfriend, and Barry and Kim are living their lives separately. Hi, I'm Danny, and you can normally find me on this channel diving into TLC shows, Christian fundamentalism, and exposing family vloggers. If that sounds like something you're into, I'm excited to have you around. One thing I am very excited to see, as we saw snippets in the trailer, is Olivia's interactions with Ethan and Mariah in this season. I wasn't sure if she'd reunite with them or not, or if we'd see the divorce process. Since the beginning of this channel, I have been watching and reacting to TLC's show Welcome to Plathville. If you have no idea what that is, feel free to check out the playlist and catch up on all of the drama. On July 16th and 17th, Olivia did a Q&A on her Instagram story. So I want to talk about some of her answers before we begin watching episode 1. For the first question, she has asked if she's ready for the next season and what was the hardest moment to film. She replies, "Ready as I'll ever be. I think going through a public divorce was super tricky and hard. I constantly felt like I was doing/saying the wrong thing, but I didn't know what else to do. I've never been divorced before, so it was a huge learning curve. That stuff was pretty hard to deal with when cameras were rolling. But once that is out of the way, I think my part of the season is lighter and happier, as that's how I was genuinely feeling. New experiences, lots of questions, figuring out the next steps in life. ... It's all there." The next question was, why are you keeping the name Plath? Wouldn't you want to change it? Like the name became your identity. If you've seen my previous video, I already talked about Olivia answering a very similarly worded question. But as Olivia says, this is the last time I will publicly answer this question because I'm over it. My name is Olivia Marie Plath. I don't give a rat's ass that my current last name came through marriage. It's still my name. What would you have me do? Change it back to my dad's last name? That's stupid. I'm not going to spend my life changing my name depending on what man has current ownership of me. I strongly disagree with the sentiment that men own last names. When I got married at 20, I left behind the child version of me that used my dad's last name. Everything I have done and everything I own at 26 is in my current name. I'm not changing that just because I got divorced. I'm still Olivia Marie Plath. This is my identity now, legally, publicly, financially, and creatively. There are far more Plaths in the world than just the Georgia Plaths. And at the end of the day, last names are just an assimilation of letters that we use to identify people. If my name changes again, it will be when, why, and how I want it to. End of story. Some of you are going to absolutely hate that answer, but I love it. She also got into politics when asked, how can two people with different political views still have a respectful relationship? She replied, I am not sure, ... still asking myself the same question. My ex and I were on completely different pages politically, and I used to say, as long as we can respect each other, we can think what we want and make it work. However, as I began to see, there are some political stances and beliefs that actually deny anyone else's reality and take away people's rights if they live differently. For example, I am very pro LGBTQ+, and unfortunately, that has become a political issue where we have to fight to make sure they are safe as people. Being with someone who wants to vote to deny them rights, dignity, and safety is no longer just a political issue, it has now become a moral and ethical issue. How can I respect someone who wants to harm others? The nail in the coffin for me was when I brought up the fact that our potential children could potentially be a part of the LGBTQ+ community, and I was told that they would be disowned and abandoned by their father. That's where respecting political differences ended. Everything is so politically charged these days that I don't think that is a black and white, easy to answer question. I'm still figuring out where the line is between respecting different opinions and standing up for what is right, good, and just. I found that answer to be beautifully written and honest. Olivia also shared that she is in fact dating someone and wrote, "I've had a public relationship and they come with unique challenges. So I'm keeping this one a little more quiet and only sharing what we both feel comfortable with. Making lots of memories and learning a lot along the way." And finally, she offered some advice on how to support a friend that is deconstructing. Give them time and understanding. They are going to mess up. It's really hard to question everything, and you can only go one layer at a time. You'll see some progress in certain areas of their life where you think they are becoming a more well-rounded person, and then they will say or do something that seems to undo that progress. Take a second to evaluate before judging or admonishing them. She then gives a personal example. "I grew up being told to distrust the government, science, and medicine. That's been a very complicated thought process to deconstruct. When COVID first hit, I was already questioning extreme religion and bucking against that, while simultaneously walking around unmasked and against the vaccine. It took me another year for me to start tackling that area of my life and make changes and start to understand science. And that happened not because of people hating on me, but because of friends who have informative and gracious conversations with me as I floundered." And on that note, let's see what the Plaths have been up to. Episode 1, unfortunately, starts with Micah in his new home in South Florida. We find out why he left LA for Florida.
Moved in with this beautiful girl. I'm a lucky man, and life's been thrilling lately.
So he's no longer a bachelor and has decided to settle down with someone. As you can see from the clip, she doesn't want to be shown on the show. Given how chaotic this show has been, I don't blame her. However, I also don't know what she might see in Micah. Based on this clip, he might be maturing into a better man than his father and brother ever seemed to be.
Like if I go to work, leave a little note. Or if I'm out and about, pick up her favorite dinner and bring it to her, or send her pictures. "This reminds me of you."
The house he's living at is actually his girlfriend's, so she leaves him to-do lists, and surprisingly, he actually cleans and helps out. But Micah is still a model and full of himself.
I want to do the interview like this from now on.
And if you're curious about Kim and Barry's thoughts on the premarital living together, we as the audience don't know because Micah hasn't asked.
There's just something special about this girl.
Are we hearing wedding bells here?
And now we move on to Ethan in Minnesota, and he's singing.
Why the things that truly matter I took for granted.
He is still in the apartment they lived in together since the lease is not yet up, but she has already moved to LA. They're also not legally divorced yet.
It's sort of a mutual decision. I don't want it to happen, but I don't see how we can make it work together either, so.
Between being sad and angry about the situation, Ethan's been doing what he can to stay busy. He works all day with 2 jobs and then goes to the gym in the evening. It's clear he still has no idea how to ask for or get help when he's going through something.
But now the lease is up on this place end of this month and I'm moving out. So Olivia's gonna be coming to town to pack up the rest of her stuff.
He hasn't really seen her since the conversation we saw last season.
I couldn't have your kids, I couldn't be your wife, it wasn't gonna work out.
And now we hear from Olivia.
I don't think I would have been the one to say it was done just because I'm stubborn and I didn't want to walk away. But when Ethan said it was done, it was like a big sigh of relief.
Olivia knocks on the door during Ethan's interview, and the tension is definitely high.
What do you see?
Who's that?
Knock, knock.
Hey.
Hi.
The show cuts to commercial break, but thankfully brings us right back to the awkwardness. It turns out Olivia never told Ethan that she was coming.
I'm sorry. I've been traveling a lot lately and just didn't think about it. It was just the next flight to get on, and I'm sorry.
I unfortunately cannot show you the clips due to copyright, but trust me, there is at least a 3 to 5 second pause between each person talking. But Olivia pushes through the awkward silences and asks if he feels they need a lawyer to mediate the divorce. Ethan silently agrees they don't need a lawyer.
Okay.
But she does eventually get a verbal answer from him.
Are you still angry at me?
Very much so.
Ethan explains that he did not appreciate her saying that him not talking to his family was not a sacrifice. Olivia explains that to her, that felt like the bare minimum if it was to protect your partner. Ethan then responds that he doesn't understand why she believes in cutting people off instead of trying to fix the broken relationship.
That's probably a way that I was not a good fit for you.
I think that's a great reply because you can argue both opinions are correct. Olivia has every right to put up hard boundaries with people she thinks are toxic and unhealthy for her. But Ethan also has every right to believe it is more worthwhile to try to mend that relationship because they're family. Neither person is wrong, but they didn't agree on this large issue, so they didn't make great partners through that struggle. When Olivia says that a big turning point for her was realizing when it came to her or his family, he was always going to pick his family. From Ethan's point of view, it was wrong for Olivia to ever make him choose. And that's when Olivia acknowledges she probably should have left sooner, knowing that would be something they could never see eye to eye on.
So you're happy now with your family?
Olivia sees his reaction and decides she needs a break. So she leaves and says she'll be back later. And with that, we move to Kim in St. Mark's, Florida. This is only a little over an hour from Cairo. She shares that the divorce isn't finalized yet.
I get frustrated that the divorce is taking so long. Financially, it's a little tight right now. And it's, emotionally exhausting.
One thing that I did not know at all is that she declined Ken's offer to move in, and instead she bought and lives in a houseboat. Although it's obviously small, Amber, Mercy, and Cassia make it work when they're staying with Kim.
It is kind of tight on the inside, but to be honest, we're not inside a whole lot.
I think it's cool that Kim is giving these girls a different experience outside of the farm. A waterfront property in Florida is definitely not a bad thing, even if it's a lot smaller than the house their dad now has. Amber also admits that spending time with her mom away from Barry has shown her a different side of her mom, and she feels like she better understands her now.
It kind of feels like an adventure living on the boat. It's really fun.
It seems that the anger and hurt stage of these kids experiencing their parents' divorce has mostly passed, and they're ready to enjoy their lives.
But I would rather be on a small boat with my girls than in a big house with fill in the blank.
And now we move on to catch up with Mr. Fill in the Blank, Barry, in Cairo. They do this weird scene where Barry is talking about how he runs now, and they try to insinuate he is dating, but his running partner is just Mariah.
How's it going?
So this is where I learned that Mariah has moved back home with Barry. If you asked me during season 1 if I ever expected her to do that, it would be a dead obvious no.
I don't want to be stuck in a lease and somewhere that I know isn't my place.
Isaac has been flying and working a ton, and Lydia has been traveling all year. And for the final member of the family, Blackjack.
No, he sees the cat. No, you are a big dog.
But Mariah didn't just move back to save money.
I went through hell recently, and I have a lot of things that I'm trying to sort through in my head.
Unfortunately, Mariah had a bad romantic relationship again. However, unlike the Max situation, she is keeping this one fully private. She does not share who he is or what he did. If, like me, you've lost track of how old everyone is now, Barry is 55, Kim is 51, Ethan is 25, Olivia is also 25, Micah is 22, Mariah is 20, Lydia is 19, Isaac is 17, Amber is 14, Cassia is 12, and Mercy is 10. Back to Micah, he is hanging out with one of his friends from Cali, Will. We also learned that Micah's current job is building fences. He's put modeling to the wayside because he doesn't want to travel as much now that he has a girlfriend. Will then shares that he is a bit skeptical of how quickly Micah has been willing to settle down with this girl because of what they used to do together in LA. When asked for further information, he shares,
But the first time I saw her was maybe not one of their best moments. They were having a little bit of a tiff where, they were going at it a little bit.
I'm honestly not sure why he would share that. That's just so messy. But now we go back to Olivia and Ethan, and they're retrying their conversation from yesterday.
I feel like she doesn't care. She's just moved on so fast. It's just very hard for me to wrap my mind around.
They quickly agree to not bring up Ethan's family and to just focus on talking about their relationship. Again, Olivia drives the limited conversation and says she doesn't know everything that goes into a divorce, but she knows they need to figure out how to divide assets and that she'll need his signature.
Are you ready to move forward with that?
I can't accept this.
Unfortunately, this is where the episode ends. Upon seeing her, Ethan realized he didn't really want a divorce, but obviously that is not where Olivia is at. Y'all, I am so excited to have this show back. This show was a huge reason I made this channel and started posting. I feel like Olivia and I have been on such a similar timeline, and it's been so amazing to watch her grow in strength and love. I won't be making a video per episode, but we'll be doing multiple episodes in a video like I have been. I was just too excited to get back to talking about this show again. It's officially been 9 months since I made this channel, and I am having so much fun. I just hit 11,000 subscribers, and I don't even know how to express how grateful and mind blown I am. When I first wrote my goals for this channel, I wanted to be monetized by October, and that somehow happened in January. Genuinely, thank you all so much. Thank you for joining me so early and for subscribing, liking, and commenting. I'm so excited for the future, and I'm so happy to see so many of you wanting to indulge in this stuff with me. On that note, I hope you have an amazing week. Bye.